Coming to you live from the Business Radio X studio, it's Franchise Marketing Radio, brought to you by IDS, an award-winning digital marketing agency that delivers integrated marketing solutions for franchisors, franchisees, and franchise development teams. Learn why over 75 brands depend on IDS's team of dedicated marketers and client service professionals to deliver a strong ROI on their marketing investment. Go to idsfranchisemarketing.com for a complimentary digital audit and consultation.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Franchise Marketing Radio. I'm your host, Rob Ganley, and I have a great guest today. I know I say that every time, but this one's cool. It's definitely, I think of an American brand when I think of this company. So we're going to talk to John Palumbo. He is the Senior Director of Franchise Development at A&W Restaurants. Welcome, John.
Thank you, Rob. Thanks for having us on.
You got it. So as we jump right on in, wanted to find out a little bit more. How did you land with A&W? I know you have a long history in franchising. Tell me a little bit about that and a little bit about your goal here with A&W going forward.
Yeah, thanks. So I'm with A&W now 2 years, almost. And previous to A&W, my consumption of A&W began during my college days at SUNY State University of New York at Cortland. And so everything I needed to know about that menu was branded into my mind during my college years. So I came over from A&W. I was recruited to come over. And when I was asked, hey, would you consider, A&W? What are you thinking about in terms of your growth trajectory? Where do you want to be moving forward? It all made a lot of sense to me pretty quickly once I began the process of talking to the folks at A&W. We're a 103-year-old brand, and you get to feel that culture and the genuineness of the executive team, of the four walls of the building, our franchise partners really quickly. And so, of course, the opportunity to build a franchise development team was important to me, certainly. And so when those boxes were checked, really it became a culture fit. And I love the DNA of the brand, of the leadership team. And it was an easy decision for me to say, hey, I want to come on over here and start building A&W's market share one store at a time, quite literally. And so that really is the whole journey. It was a 1.5 month kind of process, Rob, and we just had our end of year wrap up meeting with our we call it a one team meeting. Our entire company comes together in Lexington, Kentucky, once every quarter, which is also a really cool thing that we do. And we take a day and a half out and hit the pause button to everybody's life. So everybody flies in and we're all together, 60 of us in a room, and we get to share what we're doing. And I told the story of my interview process and why I came on to A&W and how truly everything that was said to me during that month and a half has absolutely held true as far as culture and growing with a moral compass and, everything else that sometimes could be thought about as lip service rings true 2 years later. And so anyway, that's a timely question as to the why. And that really was it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, it's an American brand. That's the way I think about it. And I think of root beer. I think of it's just one of those brands as a kid you love and you think about, and you, of course, it's lunchtime right now. So I'm kind of thinking about it right now. But from a marketing standpoint, and you kind of touched on a little bit of it now. I mean, this is an older brand. You think of some of these great American companies that are in that realm. Not many make it to 100 years.
No.
I think of AT&T. I think of things like that. But and they've certainly changed over the last 20 or 30 years. But, tell me a little bit about the marketing ethos. I think so. Okay. I told you what I thought of, right? I think of America. I think of American brands. I think of franchising. I think of A&W. Tell me a little bit, though, how that plays in to the way you position the brand, the way you talk about it, the way it's marketed. I mean, how does that fit? Tell me from the behind the scenes.
Yeah, great. So our our logo is A&W, and underneath it says All American Food. And so, in fact, my logo on my shirt says All American Food. So it's embedded in everything we do, like quite literally. But I think the story today, if you look at our 103-year journey, and I won't bore all your listeners to going through every year of a 103-year journey, but just know that you can't sustain and survive if you don't grow and change as a brand and as a person, right? I mean, I think that's pretty much applies to a lot of areas of life. But so as we sit here today, we're owned by our franchise partners, and so I don't know if there's a more American success story than that. And so, 10 years ago, I'll go back just a little. It's almost 11 years now, I guess, next month or so. We were owned by Yum Brands at the time. And for a variety of reasons, we decided, Yum Brands decided they were going to put A&W up for sale. Our largest international franchisee and our US-based Franchise Advisory Council came together and bought that brand back. And so, as we sit here today, we've enjoyed not just the COVID years or the pre-COVID years, sales increases, but we've enjoyed them every year for over 10 years. And so if you own the restaurant, 11 years ago with us, and then you own one today, that same restaurant will be up on average 67% in same store sales. And so that, when I think of, that All American brand, it's certainly the root beer. It's the, chicken tenders made fresh to order, never frozen, things like that. Root beer still made in our store every day. It's 24 to 36 hours, another big batch is made. And, but it's as much the ownership structure, the, 3 or 4 generations of franchisees, families, that have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 restaurants that quite literally 3 generations ago, they started it and it's still in the family. And so I think that family is what we think of quite literally when we think of A&W, when we say All American brand, All American Food. And that's still true today.
Yeah. Wow. I didn't know that. So 10, 11 years ago, that's an amazing story to be able to share, because that's your brand being your brand, right? Like you guys all were like, this is our brand and we're going to buy it back. We're going to keep it. And now it's owned. Not only does everybody, so like I think of the American dream too,
Yep.
The American dream, American food, owned by the franchisees, in business for yourself, but not by yourself. All those amazing things. What a story though. So you've been consistently profitable, and I know, or the stores are consistently showing that. And I know profitability has got to be a challenge in today's economic climate, and regardless of the scenario of COVID, everybody approached it differently. I heard a lot of amazing stories of innovation and brands evolving, and to me, the franchise industry flexed its muscles more than probably at any other time during COVID, because that's when you could really see how being part of a brand and a network that was together really, really helped and made some huge differences. But tell us a little bit about how things are changing for you guys. I know you're doing some changing with some of the way you onboard or roll out stores, maybe some of the options, but tell me a little bit about how you are changing and innovating as of late.
Yeah. So we, during COVID, I think a lot of people had a chance to sort of look in the mirror and say, what do we do? And we were, again, fortunate because of our structure and because of our DNA and how we just operate. We're very hands-on, very communicative, that we said, well, all we know what to do right now is to talk to our franchisees, get out in the field, see what they need, conference calls every day, literally at one point every day during the height of it, and meetings in the field as best we could, social distancing and figuring out what kind of made sense. And so we did some things that are unique to A&W. Like we said, we'll stop paying those royalties and take your ad fund that you have in your store and use it on the things you need, like maybe labor and maybe dinner for yourself tonight at your house, and things that we're able to do without getting in the weeds because of our unique fee structure. And so we were able to do that. We're also a brand that can leverage our strong financials. So that became very important when it came time for securing lending, and especially now in this really crazy environment of lending. We invested in the bank credit report, went through that process. We're in the top quarter of all scores for every franchisor in the industry. It's a wonderful tool that I would suggest every franchisor, if they're not doing it, do it. Gives you a real health checkup and where you are as a brand financially. And, we have very little, if any, litigation or FTD, and that's pretty cool to say after all these years. And the other thing we have, that we do have going for us is that we're able to, we're part of the world's largest food purchasing co-op, the RSCS. And so as once we separated from Yum Brands, we maintain that relationship on the food and equipment side. And so not only does it help with our food costs overall as a smaller brand, relatively, we're really a brand of 14,000 restaurants when you talk about buying power, because that's who we buy alongside of. And so those things became like, hey, these are our strengths, let's leverage it, let's help our franchisees do whatever we can during that time. And then we've emerged from that with a couple of programs that were really on top of mind prior to COVID, but really got pushed ahead. And that was our menu optimization program. When you're 103 years old, you'll know not every menu will look the same in Boise, Idaho, and Miami, Florida. So things over time, it was a little bit of a housekeeping, and also a strong approach to menu board optimization. And then the other program we've instituted is a centralized point of sale system, which is going to help franchisees invaluably manage food costs, labor from their POS. It allows us to do things like, value marketing programs, loyalty programs, order online, things like that, again, over a period of over 10 decades, there's a few different variations of POS systems for any brand. A brand that's 30 years old will have that. And so we were able to invest as a company into our franchisees to help try to make that a reality for them. And so again, I think those are the big takeaways from us from COVID. It was, but really at the end of it, Robert, came down to what we always do is we talk to each other, we over communicate, we say, what do you need to help? And sometimes it's, hey, we'll call a lender on your behalf and help you get your restaurant refinanced as a franchisor. And at least in my experience, a lot of the brand development efforts and the leadership team with other brands wasn't necessarily that granular or able to help folks at that, granular of a level. And so,
Yeah, that's amazing. No, I mean, again, and for anyone listening, that is not normal, right? If you're in business, to have that. And that's part of the benefit of being part of a franchise brand, is to have that type of, like you said, some of the power, some of the financial strength, some of the relationships, and then your the way that you guys look at things, the way you run things. The fact that you said that there's no litigation or limited, this is very low. That says a lot about what you said earlier about the way everybody feels about the brand together, right? I think it's everybody's brand. I think if everybody feels that way versus us versus them, right? Yeah. We don't have the finger pointing and the arguing. And that says a lot about the culture, right? It just doesn't, you don't have that many stores and pull that off without a great culture. And you touched on technology, which I love to talk about on the show, and I love to talk about marketing. The POS system that you talked about, are you guys finding that, what are you doing to engage your audience differently? That might have been 10, 20 years ago. Is there something different now that POS system helps with in terms of engagement or just interaction with your folks that are coming in and out all the time? Anything specific that you really like from a marketing standpoint that's doing?
Yeah, good question. And I'll tell you that I am definitely not the POS expert or the IT expert. So, but I'll do my best not to give you a wrong answer. So where now we have, I don't know, I want to say maybe 20 or so or or 30 POSs in restaurants. And somewhere, if that's a wrong number, my IT guys are yelling at me. But we also have a POS lab that's been set up in our building. And so our convention is in mid-February. And our hope is to, have 100 restaurants online in, end of 2023, which would be a great accomplishment. And then, the balance in 24. And but yeah, what we love about it is frankly the ability to capture a loyalty program, customer information in a responsible way, ability to help franchisees really granularly manage their labor and their inventory and their back of the house systems. There are some things we use now like QSR online, and there's like different web-based applications that franchisees can use to do that. But this is all literally will be right through your one centralized POS. And then what it does is it allows us to make some really good decisions for the system more, globally, so to speak. So we'll have data from, at our fingertips from 400 or 500 restaurants, over the next few years. And we can say, well, this option 6, menu option 6 is really, struggling at, between 2:00 and 5:00 p.m. and make some marketing decisions, not only at the national level, but really at the local store marketing level, because that's what drives everything we do is focused around a local store marketing. Rob, we don't have the budget to be on television all over the place and, with a lot of radio. So we really are grassroots local store marketing, and every penny of the 5% that gets paid by our franchisees for marketing, 4.5% of that goes right into their, what we call a one store account, and they spend it. So it's not a fee. It's not a revenue center for us. Only 0.5% of that 5% goes to A&W's National Marketing Fund, which does, works for things like limited time LTO print window clings and, things like that, and artwork set up. But it's a very unique marketing structure because, guess who decides that? Our bosses. And well, who's our bosses? Our franchisees. So
yeah. Well, so with a brand like A&W, there's so much brand recognition. How does that play like with a local store? And when you look at Google and you look at Google Maps and you look at mobile usage and everybody looking for the directions or the phone number or to order online, how do you check that box? Is there something you do, or how does that look for a brand like yours?
Yeah, so we have each franchise restaurant will have their own website that we set up and help host if need be. So every restaurant will have a website. And then, when you go onto our main consumer website is a location tracker, and you can get right to a restaurant, by zip code, like most will do. And so, that's kind of how we do it, really. And then from a national, we are working on a national ordering platform, online ordering and delivery platform, to where, again, it'll all be embedded into the POS, making it just a ton easier. And we realize this isn't like unique, and we're not breaking any real news necessarily, except that we're a brand that's has realized it and is making the investment of time and people to do it. And it is all of that. It's, hey, this is what we like to do. This is why we'd like to do it. And this is how it's going to be profitable for you, franchisees. And we have 2 number one priorities, and we talk about them every time we're together, every meeting. It's growing same store profitable sales, and growing and developing new profitable restaurants. So our only two number one goals are helping franchisees make more money profitable, not just, we call it white elephant, just the Trojan horse revenue. You brought in another $100,000 this year, and guess what? You made another $0 on that $100,000, and someone else besides us and you were making the profitability on that, and we'll wait to go. And so we want any kind of sales, same store sales increase to be profitable. And then it's 3 years ago we decided we're going to start opening and developing new restaurants, freestanding drive-through restaurants. And of course, now a non-traditional program to start spreading the word and building brand, capturing some more market share for A&W, because really the timing is right, and we're just doing so well. Really, we're just doing so well. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, obviously the brand is very well known for the products but the stores themselves where are you targeting growth? Is there areas that are more ripe than others? What does that look like for you?
Yeah. So the upper Midwest is typically a stronghold for us. Wisconsin, Michigan, Minnesota, that's where we've been and grown and, cut our teeth, so to speak. But as we sit here today, we're finding a lot of penetration in the Florida market. Also, believe it or not, in Arizona. We're also upstate New York, that Buffalo, Niagara Falls, Lake Erie, Rochester markets are all coming online or will be coming online. And so those are just really strong footholds for us. And we think really great A&W markets potentially. You'll see us. We're in the final process of a few RFPs for airports, national airports, large ones. So you'll see us start getting into that area as well. But it has to be, for us, we're fortunate, and then I guess it's a double-edged sword. We could grow literally in any state, anywhere, just because of our distribution arm and our reach, because of our RSCS. However, it doesn't mean it's always the right thing to do at that moment. And so we're very careful that we grow in the right market with the right operator, with the right financial ability and wherewithal. It doesn't help anybody to open a store, not be successful. Not the franchisee that's new, not the existing community, not our team. And so, yeah.
Yeah, everything is through the lens of those two things you mentioned. If we make any decisions, it's about, are we driving profitability at the unit level, or are we bringing in the right partners, to expand? And so you're always looking at that and saying, is this really the right thing? And that's important because the opportunities in front of the folks that you talk to are already been vetted to some extent.
That's right.
So like with a brand this big, you've obviously been a part of some other brands. I shouldn't say obvious for the listeners. You've been in the space a while. Yeah. But tell me in all your time, as we wrap the show up here, is there one thing that you kind of use in franchise development, or maybe in marketing, or in coaching franchisees? Any of those ways? Anything that you've learned that you wanted to share with the audience?
Yeah, and I'll tell you this. I hope this doesn't sound too corny, Rob, but I'm a Brooklyn kid, born and raised, and we grew up very poor. A single mom, worked in restaurants and pizzerias my whole life, and through college, and so I encourage my team, our executive team, when I have a voice at that table over my history, which I do now as well. Again, and I say we have to spend the money like it's our money. Like if you wouldn't be willing to open up an A&W restaurant, why would you ask someone else to? And so I feel like if you can look at it through that lens, 30,000 feet, and answer the question. And sometimes it's like, I'm not sure. And that's not necessarily a bad answer, because it just means that, okay, well, what do we have to do to get better? And so, I think that's one for sure, that moral compass. I go to sleep every night, and I've had successes and failures. Restaurants that I thought would be over my career would be huge successes that turned out they weren't for a number of reasons. And ones that I thought might be okay and I was worried about, that were just unbelievable. They did unbelievable. And so if you can go to bed each night knowing that, hey, you know what, I did the right thing. Everything was above board. We tried our best. Then I think you're ahead of the game. And then love what you do. You can't do what we do and not love it. There's days when you want to bang your head against the wall, like any job, for sure. Right. But but the minute it becomes like, oh man, I'm not enjoying this, you got to find something else to do. It's not a passive job where you can just take a paycheck.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, and franchising as a industry is about entrepreneurship. And I just think it's amazing that the franchisees of A&W are now the owners. At least that's where it all came about. And that says a lot about the franchisees that own the brand, and why why you guys think the way you do. Like it's treated like it's our money because it is your money. You're
That's
coming
right.
at it from that view, right?
That's right. That's right.
So that's awesome. It's great to hear that. I appreciate your time today, John.
Yeah,
it's good to have you on the show.
Rob, thank you so much.
You got it. And I just want to thank our listeners and our sponsors for their support. And bye for now.